Hello. Welcome to the Absolute Football Podcast. We are back after a very brief international break. We weren't on international duty. We just had the week off, but we're back again. Premier League is back. And some of us are back. There's two of us at least. There's two of us to bring you a Premier League review podcast tonight. So thank you for joining us at our new time of 8:30 if you're joining us live on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook, on where else are we now, Show? I don't know. We're on Twitter as well sometimes, aren't we, live? We just pop up places and that seems to happen.
Just everywhere.
Everywhere. It just seems to happen. And of course, it's not me. It's not just me. It's just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. Building castles in the sky. Just the two of us, you and I. It's me and you again, Charlotte. How are you?
Do you know what? I'm really good. I went watching S Club 7 at the weekend as well. So I think I'm still in S Club party mode. So yeah, I'm on a high. How are you?
I'm not too bad. How was the S Club? How was the S Club party? Was it how you remember an S Club party to be?
Yeah, I was bringing it all back. I was reaching for the stars. I was having the S Club party, all of it. So yeah, it was really good. Thank you.
Oh, epic. Good to see S Club have still got it. Have still got it. Who's your favourite S Club member? Go on then. Let's start with a non-football topic.
I think my internet's lagging as well. I don't know what's going on.
It's all right. I'm sure we'll catch up. We'll just plough into the football and then we can catch up as we go. But of course, we are here to talk Premier League.
No.
You can join us in the chat if you wish. We are on YouTube and Twitch if you want to join us there to come and chat with us live. Of course, big weekend. Premier League was back. We had a kind of little break, didn't we? It was a little break in the Premier League. And we're going to start with Geordie 4. I think we gave it on the thumbnail. Newcastle with a 4 past Crystal Palace, who had a fantastic away record. Go on then, Shah. Give us your reaction to the Newcastle epic win.
Oh, honestly, a really good win. And can I just say as well, as much as it was 4-0 to Newcastle, I was having a look at the stats before, and as much as they had a lot of possession, Newcastle, Palace had a lot of chances. And I feel like if they had more clinical finishers, and obviously if Zaha was still there, it might have not been the story. But yeah, Newcastle, you can't take the scoreline away from them. As I mentioned before, very clinical finishing. They struggled at the beginning of the season, but now I think they're just getting better and better. But from a Crystal Palace point of view, I don't know what's going on with Crystal Palace. I feel like they haven't really bettered the squad, have they? They've obviously lost some key players. They've not really bettered anyone. Defensively, they know better. Attacking wise, as we mentioned, they know better as well. So yeah, I think they'll struggle this season. I'm not really impressed with Crystal Palace, but yeah, Newcastle showing us what Newcastle can do.
It was a very good win. We'll go to, of course, the chatter here. Simon, thank you for joining us in the chat. Evening to you. And hello to Heather as well in the chat. Welcome to you coming in and joining us. Yeah, Palace are a funny one because they are very good defensively. I think they've had a really good record of people struggling to kind of get past them. They're really resolute, really difficult to get past. As you say, the attack's a little bit... They are. I don't think Elise's back, is he? He was so key for them last season. Eze hasn't really kind of kicked into gear. Edouard started quite well, but... then he had his knock and his injury. He's just coming back too. So, I thought it'd be an interesting one because of how Palace would kind of sit and made it different. But I think difficult. But because Newcastle opened them up and broke them through so early, it opened the game up. Palace are the worst team to go 1-0 down at, that's for sure. If they get 1-0 up,
100%.
Then you get 1-0 up against Palace, and I think, yeah, definitely you can open up for sure. Heather mentions, of course, yes, they took Lerma off Bournemouth, which is still clearly a sore point off of that transfer. Craig's joining us in the chat. Hello, Newcastle are good at hammering teams, not so good when it comes to grinding out ugly 1-0s. Yeah, that's fair. They've been very good. Got a very good record, I think, of being up 3-0 at half time. I think I saw earlier today. They're very good at that. Lisa, hello to Lisa. Welcome to the chat as well. Mr. Luke is here. He's a part-timer watching this show on Monday. Terrible form from, of course, we're used to Mr. Luke and his Gateshead. I think he's just getting in early because he knows who they're playing tomorrow, aren't they, Charlotte?
I know, it's taunting me. It's taunting me.
Of course, don't miss the fact that on Thursday we will have our absolute lower league show where Charlotte will be talking about the double week, about Gateshead and Rochdale, and Where's Claire, our new fantastic feature. We'll be back on Thursday, which we can't wait to bring you as well. But back to the Newcastle game, the first goal, said Craig, the first goal was a fluke, and it was, and it really then just kind of then brought up the space for Newcastle to be allowed to play, and I thought, and gave them the threat down the width that we know they have, and some very good performances from players that have grown as Newcastle players under Eddie Howe, in kind of Jacob Murphy and Anthony Gordon. What are you making of Anthony Gordon now, Charlotte? Obviously, he moved for big money last season, and then it took a bit of time, but it's starting to come good.
Yeah, definitely. It was quite a strange one from me because I always thought he was a good player, but I thought for the price tag and obviously what was going on with him, I thought I don't really think he's that much of a good player. But then again, that's football now, isn't it? It's just crazy money what these players are going for. But to be fair, I think he is like a typical Eddie Howe player. And instead of going out buying some big name superstar, he's gone for the likes of Anthony Gordon, and he likes to adapt to player and work with them. So as much as I thought that's a bit of a strange signing, I can kind of get it as well from an Eddie Howe point of view, because they are the players he likes to bring on, doesn't he?
He does. He does. He likes to work with those players, and Anthony Gordon was one. He was on the top when he was at Everton, and there's certainly a player there, as England have seen, I think, in the youth teams as well. He's been superb. So we've got a goal. We've got a goal, of course, in today's game. We are, of course, live as well with the Tottenham game. There has been a goal. As soon as my fingers will press in to tell you who scored the goal, you probably already know if you're in the chat. But it's 1-0 to Tottenham. Son Heung-min has scored for Spurs. Looks like they're going top of the league at the moment. So there we go. Live Monday night football with you as well. So much to bring you all the time.
Son. I love Son.
Son's done the business. We'll take that down. Otherwise, that will go up all show and we'll forget to do any more updates. But it's some more people coming in the chat as well. Hello, Shawnee. Thank you for joining us. Yes, very well. Thank you, Shawnee, for joining us. And of course, everyone asks, as we just said earlier, this is a Thursday question of where's Claire? Well, we can answer it today because Claire's here. She's in the chat with us today, joining us for the Premier League podcast. Thank you for being with us as well. But yes, we do have, Newcastle have some players improving, and Heather makes a good point in Joe Linton. He came back from injury as well. To add Joe Linton to the mix of players that have been playing really well as well for Newcastle, I'd say back from injury just at the right time with Champions League and lots of games coming up. I mean, this really is struggling to think of many Eddie Howe players that haven't improved under Newcastle. I mean, Jacob Murphy was another one we mentioned as well. Fantastic performance from him at the weekend. And likes a Sean Longstaff playing in there. And a player I really wanted to come to was Kieran Trippier. Kieran Trippier, who of course they got on a free transfer, has now turned into not just an unbelievable right back and player, but a fantastic leader as well. I mean, Charlotte, how key is Trippier now to that Newcastle team?
It's just absolutely brilliant, not just defensively. Obviously, as you mentioned, the leadership role, but attackingly as well, because he's so good going forward. And for someone who's obviously getting older now, he's still got so much pace, hasn't he? And he's still... but yeah, I feel like with Trippier, I feel like it's just getting better and better under Eddie Howe, and it's such a threat going forward, as I mentioned. I don't know if it's the way Newcastle are playing as well. His set pieces, you can't obviously deny his set pieces. He's great at them. So yeah, it's just a really good all-rounder, isn't it? But I think with someone like that in the dressing room, especially with the young up-and-coming players as well, like your Anthony Gordons, you've got Isak, think people like that as well. I think is definitely someone to have and someone who will help with his experience. We've obviously seen what's happening with Tonali as well. it's not good to see. Obviously, he's dealing with his own issues. And I know at the end of the game, he was putting his arm around Tonali and obviously really helping him get through that. So I think someone like that in the dressing room, but also on the pitch as well. I think every team needs someone like that.
Yeah, absolutely. He is such a key leader, as you say, around supporting people with the team. Craig mentions again, good point about Trippier was brilliant with Tonali in the game. Yeah, I mean, things happen with clubs, as we've seen, and the players have to respond to that. And I think Trippier's way of handling that was really good. And thank God Mr. Luke's here in the chat to correct the mistakes that I make, because yes, you're right. Trippier wasn't free; he was 12 million. Yeah, I was thinking of his move to Atletico, wasn't it? Atletico Madrid, I think, was a free, but no, correct.
That's a bargain, though. To be fair, I think.
We can consider fullbacks
that now, is still a bargain, especially
top draw fullbacks, 30 to kind of 50 million we've been seeing. So still a bargain. Yeah, still a bargain. So he's a superb player. We'll touch on, as we mentioned it, the Tonali thing. That's what I found quite interesting, because obviously that's been a massive news story over the past international week with Sandro Tonali has now been, I don't know, do they call it charged in football when they're in trouble? I don't know. I suppose you could say he's been charged, isn't he?
So.
he's admitted making bets on AC Milan while he was at Milan, and looks like he's going to be facing a lengthy ban. But those kind of things can distract a club and become a big talking point and all the rest of it. And Newcastle came out and sort of took the words away from that, didn't they? And whatever you think about what Tonali's done or hasn't done, the team reacted, didn't they? I suppose that shows quite a lot, I suppose, about the squad and the management as well. Oh, yeah, I think we've got a bit of a lag.
100%. There we go. And I think with me as well. Yeah, sorry. I think as well, it just kind of proves the togetherness of this team, because they've not just automatically been like, oh, he's done this, like, get him out of here, we're not supporting him. They're showing the support for him. And at the end of the day, this addiction, as much as obviously we say players shouldn't be doing it, it is a mental illness. It is an addiction. It's something that obviously it can't help, like with Tony as well. And I just think what gets me mad is there's so much about betting. You have it on the sponsorships of T-shirts. You have like stuff that's sponsored by Sky Bet and all these different companies. So I think players do need that little bit more protection, because at the end of the day, any normal person can end up with a gambling addiction. So it's the exact same for a footballer. They are in the limelight, but they can go through this as well as any normal person. So what I do like is the fact that Newcastle are protecting him and they're not just shafting him.
Yeah, so I think it's the right thing, say, for them to do. And it's very difficult for them, because obviously the situations with Tonali and the betting, it is all before he came to Newcastle. It's all when he was at Milan, and there's a few other Italian players as well that were there. I think it's Zaniolo, of course, who's now at Aston Villa, and I forget the guy's name. Is it Foglioli or someone, the Juventus player as well, who's been charged too? So it's good that I think he's addressing it, and he's come out and he's admitted it, and kind of looking at it in that kind of light is positive, supporting the player. What's happened, he'll get the ban, he'll get this stuff. Obviously, players can't do it. There's rules for a reason. He's broken the rules, so there's a ban in place, and we've now seen it. Say we've had him, we've had Ivan Toney, Harry Toffolo as well, wasn't he? Was involved in a betting thing as well. So. Yeah, I think it's good. It brings it to the forefront. As you say, football has got and I know they're trying to move away, aren't they, from some gambling sponsorships. There is I think in a couple of seasons on football shirts, I think it's going to be banned, isn't it? They're trying to sort of outlaw that to sort of start to move it. But it's been a huge revenue earner for football and for the Premier League. And as always, that comes into a real kind of ethical question when the money gets involved, and they're quite happy to take it. But on the flip side, then, players can't gamble. So you've kind of got a bit of a conflict of interest, haven't you? But yeah, interesting. Definitely. Newcastle definitely dealt with it. No massive issues there. Mr. Luke is happy. His dad is happy anyway for all the love we're giving to Newcastle tonight in terms of their performance. Absolutely. And Newcastle, as I said, changed from betting company to the new sponsor in the summer. A very interesting time for Newcastle, because, of course, Champions League. We haven't spoken too much about the Champions League and how that's progressed so far. And obviously, Newcastle had a fantastic win against Paris Saint-Germain. And I think we all kind of felt as the Champions League kind of take the distraction off the Premier League. But
Yeah.
Surely this massively helps them into what is a huge game with Borussia Dortmund they've got coming up in. Are they playing tomorrow or Wednesday? I can't remember. One of the two.
Yeah. I can't remember, but just the confidence that they have, because obviously we saw them at the beginning of the season. They had quite a slow start, didn't they? But just the confidence they have, and obviously players coming back from injury, as we mentioned, they've got players on form at the minute, and I feel like they're just growing under Eddie Howe. Like Joe Linton, who would have thought Joe Linton would have been a key player? I honestly, I like watching them. I really enjoy watching Newcastle. And I remember Newcastle like a good few years ago when they were thriving. And I feel like I can watch them now and it's giving me them kind of vibes as well. So, yeah, I do like watching them. And from the minute I saw the PSG players on that Newcastle pitch, I think it was when they first got there, and Mbappe had to get a hat and gloves on, I thought, Newcastle are going to win. These cannot handle the cold weather up north.
No, they don't know what they've come to. No, I did think that as well. I was thinking the cold weather, the cauldron of St James's Park. This is going to be a cracking shock for them. They're going to be really surprised by this. I go to the chat. Shawnee's said to confirm that they're at home to Dortmund on Wednesday, as does Craig says it's going to Wednesday as well. We've got Simon commenting on the betting, saying that Coventry, his club, won't have a betting company on this shirts while they're in charge. The owner has stated, so it's good to see people kind of taking stances against it. And Lisa mentions, we will come to this, Lisa, certainly definitely on the agenda tonight is Bobby Charlton, and a massive thank you for Barcelona and Athletic Bilbao for the minute respect for Sir Bobby Charlton. So we will be talking about Bobby Charlton soon. But so big for them. If they can get past Dortmund on 7 points in that group of death, their home form in the Premier League has been fantastic. I mean, I think I saw no teams won more than 4 home games than Newcastle in the Premier League this season. They scored 24 goals in 9 Premier League games, which is pretty impressive. And it's also, it's the 5th time that Newcastle have led by 3 or more goals at half-time in a Premier League game under Eddie Howe. So that's not a bad record at all. So just shows how dangerous they've been. It's a very good record, and how good they've been when they get 1-0 up and kind of blitzing teams at St James's Park. They are difficult. So great win for Newcastle. We're now going to move on to another team with a great win that Charlotte's very, very pleased about because it comes to her early season predictions. Go on, Charlotte. Tell us all about Aston Villa.
I remember being sat, and don't get me wrong, it is a long season. They have Europe, which I know. Anything can happen. Injuries can happen. But I sat there on our preview show when we went through all our predictions, and I said Aston Villa will be a threat this season. And I can't remember. Did I have them top 5, top 6? I had them roundabout there, didn't I?
Yeah.
Top 5. And loads of people were laughing at me, and even in the chat, they were like laughing at me. But I just think with Emery, I don't think you can write him off. And just the way, obviously, it had them playing last season. Obviously, the players weren't performing under Steven Gerrard. And then it had them performing. We mentioned off air as well, didn't we? They are 11 unbeaten at home, which is vital. And Villa Park, obviously, they're playing good football as it is, but actually at Villa Park, it's a bit like Manchester United at Old Trafford, isn't it? Was it last season?
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like with Aston Villa, they've bettered the squad as well. They've obviously Douglas Luiz, he's on a roll, isn't he, at the minute?
Oh, it's really fantastic, isn't he? Six in a row for Douglas Luiz at home. I mean, he's become he's been the penalty taker, which he's got a few, but he's now more playing. He's picking up those spots on the outside of the box. That's how he scored at the weekend, wasn't it? Kind of that late kind of dart. He's got more freedom to move forward, it seems, in this Emery system. He's very good. I think I can't remember where I had Villa. I'm pretty sure I had them around about 7th or 6th. I thought they would have a good season.
Yeah.
Just not kind of enough because I do think they'll have a really good run in the Conference League, and that perhaps that might be a difference when we get to the latter stages because there are some other teams around there. Somehow you've got to fit 4 out of Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, Tottenham, Newcastle, Brighton. if United and Chelsea ever get their act together, maybe they come into that mention as well. So there's a lot of teams, but at the moment, Villa just are absolutely blowing teams away at home. I mean, only Manchester City and Atletico Madrid have got a better home league run than Aston Villa at the moment in the top 5 leagues in Europe. So that's pretty impressive. And we will go to the chat because there's a lot of love for one man in particular, a striker on absolute fire, Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins on fire. Lisa as well. Ollie Watkins, what a player. How good has Ollie Watkins been? He's been good since the start of the season, but now the goals are coming with it as well, I think.
He's just got so much confidence, and I think he started thriving late last season. Obviously, we mentioned he weren't performing that well under Steven Gerrard. But then when Emery plays, and I don't know if it's the style he plays, I don't know what it is, but he really was thriving. And then obviously he's got his international call up, didn't he? With England, which is brilliant. And I just feel like he's so confident. And that goal on Sunday was absolutely brilliant, the way he finished it. And it's the old Ollie Watkins that we all know he's capable of doing. And I just feel like every single game is growing with confidence. And even when Aston Villa aren't winning, or Aston Villa obviously are attacking, I just feel like a lot of it is because of him. And I just love watching Ollie Watkins. I really, really do.
He's so exciting. That finish that he hit with his left foot in the top left-hand corner, I love that. I mean, that's the sort of goal that you see on FIFA games all the time that nobody really scores. But on just the confidence to just go, I'm just absolutely belting this. There's nothing you can kind of do. So I had him in my dream team. To say, Heather mentioned he'd been captained in the FPL for her this week, so she had a great week having him captain. I had him from the start, and he wasn't scoring goals, but he was playing well. I was watching some of the bits he was doing, and it just wasn't. He was scoring, I think, more in Europe than in the Premier League. And he said he wants to be a striker that people fear, that people worry for. And there was a really nice interview as well at the weekend with because Dean Smith was, I think, on the touchline, wasn't he? And there's two. There's Dean Smith and Unai Emery, which is really interesting because Emery's like almost really respectful of what Dean Smith has done, understands his connections to the fans, and Watkins gives a lot to Dean Smith. I mean, you do have to say, as fantastic Emery has been, I mean, say Dean Smith did put some fantastic foundations in Aston Villa, didn't he?
Yeah, 100%. And what he did, and the players, obviously, it built them back up. What he did, obviously, the players he bought, the Jack Grealish thing as well. I think, obviously, it was the best time to obviously cash in on Jack Grealish when they had chance. And I just feel like with him, he should be respected for what he did to Aston Villa. It really should, because they had some really bad years, didn't they, Aston Villa? They did really struggle. We've always seen them like under, was it Martin O'Leary we're called?
Oh, yeah, David O'Leary, yeah.
David O'Leary, yeah. We always saw him like Aston Villa. They were always one of the teams competing. They always played exciting stuff, and then they really did struggle. And I feel like with Dean Smith, he did build them back up, and I think he's kind of the foundations there. And yeah, it should always be respected for what he did, because he really did. And he got the fans back on side and stuff, because I think the fans were obviously going through a bad time and with the club. So yeah, I think he needs to have all the respect, and it's shown with Ollie Watkins, because I'm sure he called him Gaffer as well, his interview, and it just shown like the respect they have for him. So yeah, it was really good to see, because it's not often that you kind of get to see that in football, because a lot of the media in particular kind of play people off each other. So it was a really nice, authentic moment.
Yeah, it was genuine, and having Emery there, having that kind of interaction as well, and him talking about the importance of the Aston Villa fan base and how he's felt that's kind of really galvanised the club, and he felt that when he first came in. I mean, for me, I remember younger Villa have always been a massive club, but they were kind of. They were, I think, apart from a couple of sort of cup finals or the odd season where they'd have, remember them kind of yo-yoing a bit. They kind of sort of did this. Then obviously they dropped in the championship and sort of come back. But now, I mean, they really have used that Grealish money well to put a quality squad together. And with Emery at the front of it, who's
100%.
fantastic, as we say, a fantastic manager. He's doing a phenomenal job. Mr. Luke, he wants Ollie Watkins to have his kids. So, fair enough. Fair enough. He is good.
Before we move back onto our next game, I'm just going to rejoin back on my phone because it's really lagging. So I'll literally be 2 seconds.
Yeah, no problem. I shall carry us through. While Charlotte's going to sort stuff out, we'll go to people in the chat and say, Graham, good evening to you. Thank you for joining us. Good evening, Sam and Shah. Is coming back. Don't worry, you're not just going to be stuck with me for the remainder of the time. We've also got as well Craig saying here that Smith was brilliant. Villa should have gone to a bigger club than Norwich when he left. Yeah, it's a shame for him that it kind of hasn't led to anything else, hasn't it? The Norwich had to kind of be that step, and I do hope he gets another chance because I think what he did at Villa does need to kind of be appreciated. And Craig remembers Villa pushing Man United all the way for this. Yeah, I remember that 92-93. They were a strong side, very big in the 90s. A classic. And Villa Park always was the venue for FA Cup semi-finals. I remember it was always the one. It was always be Villa Park, and usually Old Trafford would be the two because of the history of what we've got with Aston Villa. So while Charles coming back, I'll just read a couple of bits that I had on Villa from the weekend in terms of sort of stat-wise. So, I mean, they were saying as well, flipping it on its head, David Moyes apparently this was his first defeat in the Premier League against Aston Villa, which I couldn't believe, which goes all the way back to when he was in charge of Everton, ending a 14-game unbeaten run, which is absolutely crazy that was David Moyes' first defeat in the Premier League. Of course, we mentioned about Douglas Luiz's first 6 consecutive home games for Aston Villa, which beats the record that was previously held by a certain Dwight York. Mr. Lucas, welcome. He's confirming in the chat that shame about Smith could have gone to a bigger club. Yep, and hopefully he'll get a move soon somewhere else, and we'll get to see him back in the hot seat somewhere nice. And Craig remembers the goal that I remember. Ryan Giggs' goal against Arsenal was there. I do know. I have the program actually from that game. I wasn't at the game, but I know somebody was there who has me a program, so that is in my special collection box of things that I will remember from the 90s. That is for sure. Now, hopefully Charlotte's coming back, but as I speak, I can see Charlotte has returned.
Oh, it was doing my head in so far. I'm going to have to join on my phone. I don't like the lagging.
Perfect. Yeah, I wasn't sure because it kept like catching up and then it sort of disappeared off, but we're back. We're on live time now. On live time. So we've done Aston Villa, and before we come to the next game, I just wanted to take a minute to talk about obviously the sad passing that we had at the weekend of Sir Bobby Charlton at the age of 86, a Manchester United legend, an England legend, a footballing legend. Everything, say, personally for me as a Man United fan and growing up with a family who supported Manchester United, the stories I heard of Bobby Charlton and his involvement as well in the Manchester United teams beyond as a player, as an ambassador behind the scenes. He was very key with Fergie and kind of the 90s and his growth. Just an incredible man. I mean, so when that news came through on Saturday, I was just kind of, it hit quite hard, I think, because it's just how massive a figure Sir Bobby Charlton has been, even though he's maybe not always in the forefront of what's been going on. I mean, what he went through in his footballing career, in his life, going back to the Munich air disaster, which I've seen him speak multiple times about, actually, and was very emotional when he spoke about it. He almost felt guilty for kind of being able to live his life afterwards because he obviously lost all of his friends in that disaster. And then to come through with the Busby Babes, with Sir Matt Busby and what they built for the European Cup, then to go on and winning the World Cup as well 2 years prior to that in '66. Just an all-round kind of legend. And I think it was amazing some of the tributes that we've seen. Lisa mentioned earlier Barcelona and Athletic Bilbao in Spain, just how far it's reached. And I think there's talks, isn't there, of the EFL doing the tribute over the next couple of days. So, yeah, for me, it's kind of hit hard with Sir Bobby Charlton. It's something I always used to speak to my grandparents about. And that era, everyone talks about Bobby Charlton. And if you get the chance and you haven't, do watch some stuff of him, because you have to remember when you watch him hit a football, that was the old leather ones, soaking wet, heavy, and the speed and power with which that man could hit those balls compared to, you know, the floaty ones that we have now that kind of do this. Absolutely insane. But I'd say, what do you remember as you were growing up about Bobby Charlton, Shah?
It was always like watching the United games, because a lot of my family were obviously United fans. I remember from being young and just seeing him always watching like Manchester United, like in the stand, and then he'd come on the pitch, and obviously just remembering the Munich air disaster and things like that. It was always someone I'd be like, oh, who's he, kind of thing. And when obviously I heard the story about Bobby Charlton, it was actually my granddad who told me about him and like the stories and everything about him and what he'd obviously been through. And then obviously growing up, and you kind of, it sounds mental, but for me, seeing someone like from football and someone who's been through such a lot of things in life, and then obviously the football mentality as well, you kind of take him on as like an adoptive grandparent to you, like football fans. Yeah. And you kind of like, it's like Alex Ferguson's the exact same as well. Like with me, I always think of him, even though I'm like a Rochdale fan, because he's been someone involved in football for so long, you kind of take it upon you to like make him an adoptive grandparent. So yeah, following his journey and just everything he achieved. Obviously the Munich air disaster was so sad. And as you said, him talking about it, but I felt like with him, it kind of, everything he did then, like in life and through football, it was kind of the legacy of the ones who passed away. And kind of I'm getting emotional thinking about it, because it gives me goosebumps. And just what he's done for football as a whole in general, not just Manchester United. And it's kind of that no matter what you go through, you can still achieve this and this. And yeah, he's just such an iconic figure. And I think it kind of showed on social media as well, because no matter what football team a lot of these people support, there was just so much love for him. And just, yeah, there were so many nice messages. So it's such a tragedy, but I think to myself, like, the life he had and what he achieved, like, it's just amazing. It really is.
Yeah, it's very rare you get that massive reaction across clubs, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just popped to Heather in the chat. She's asking if you've got any headphones, Shah. I think it's a bit feedbacky, I think, on the phone. Have you got any?
I don't think I've got any either. I'm having them there.
It's all right. We'll plough through. Yeah, I think it's very rare you get like a consensus across football fans, across football people, that, you know, that it doesn't, you know, the tribal stuff then drops and stops, you know, and everybody supports and just can see the impact that somebody like that has. So yeah, he's absolute legend. So many lovely stories coming out from United players as well about what he was like behind the scenes, coming in to see them in the dressing room, even after losses and stuff. He was always there, and he was kind of someone that's what, when people talk about Manchester United and why United fans who have been through kind of eras are so frustrated at the minute, because it doesn't represent that. He was a representation of how we should be, of how we wanted to portray ourselves as a football club. And it's just a million miles away from that, which is different, sad. But yeah, so fantastic, Sir Bobby Charlton. And say, I think, yeah, one that I think lives on with everybody, sort of comes through in the next generations. And so he's got his own footballing school that he's had for years. That's where David Beckham come from, wasn't it? The Bobby Charlton School. So
definitely. Sorry, I'm just going to see if my headphones are in my bag.
So we're going to do a tour with Shah in a minute.
Either. It must just be a bad day up north. It's my Wi-Fi, I think.
It's all these storms. I haven't got any more storms up there, have you?
I know. I'll be 2 seconds.
No problem at all. So yeah, that was Bobby Charlton for me. Just a all-round legend, and tributes have been paid, which has been absolutely lovely. I'll come to the chat and says what they said. Lisa mentions he only got booked one card in his career. Absolute legend and genius to grace English football. Certainly that. Mr. Luke saying, gutted about Bobby Charlton's death. Even though I didn't know much about his past, but he is a part of footballing history, which I respect. Shawnee, just an icon in general, on and off. Yeah, agree with that. And Solara is saying, Shah just wants to point out that you're in fact a southerner. Apparently, you are down south. So
I'm not. I wish I was. If you've got better Wi-Fi than me, I'm hoping, because I've got my AirPods and it's a bit better. But I think it's my phone speaker.
There we go.
Joys of having kids.
I think this is it. I think I can't hear the feedback. I think we're all right. Well, technically for me, everything's north, because you can't get anything further south of me unless I'm on the Isle of Wight. So I don't think their Wi-Fi is any good, so I won't be going there. And Graham says this week's on Through the Keyhole with Charlotte.
Where's Claire as well? There's Where's Claire? There's Through the Keyhole with Shah.
This is it. We've got Ant's Christmas songs. It's a whole mystery box. But going back to the weekend's football, a big game that was in London. Chelsea 2, Arsenal 2.
Yeah.
Charlotte. I mean, I made a joke. I made a joke at work to a guy. I said I always used to bet 2-2 on this game because I just don't know what it is. 2-2 and London derbies always just come immediately to mind. I thought potentially it could go that way, but Chelsea we're not. Chelsea are still very strange, aren't they? We're still trying to get to grips with what Chelsea are a lot of the time. When they went 2-0 up, part of me thought, I do think this might be 2-2, you know. What did you make of I did. I did think if Arsenal got one, I'm not sure if Chelsea will hold out. But what did you make of Chelsea's performance?
I'm going to be completely honest. I've only watched the highlights because obviously I was at S Club 7 having my own little party. From a Chelsea point of view, I'd be very disappointed because especially being 2-0 up and then obviously conceding. But I just thought we had Sanchez on loan at Rochdale and we thought he was a great keeper. At Brighton, I think he was a good keeper. But I just think he's a bit calamity at the minute for Chelsea and I would not trust him at all in the net. And from what I saw, I just thought to myself, like, he's definitely got a mistake in him. And I don't know if you saw it, one of the chances for Arsenal, he actually came out and I don't know what he was doing. I think he actually came out and took out a couple of the Arsenal players and I just thought, what's going on? But I'm like you, I completely cannot, I don't know what to expect with Chelsea. Don't get me wrong, they've got some young players and I think what Pochettino's doing, I think he has gotten playing some quite good attacking stuff and you can't take that away from him. But I just, they're very weird, aren't they? Like 1 week they can do this, the next week they're completely different. But I think the thing is with Arsenal as well, Chelsea can't afford to do that with Arsenal at the minute because I think with Arsenal, they've just got some mentality about them where they fight back.
Yeah, they do. Chelsea are they are funny because Graham mentions in the chat they must be wondering how they didn't win that. I mean he played it very different. The sort of where the positioning, kind of how Palmer was very strange. I think it almost surprised Arsenal. And as Craig says, I do agree with Craig. He's not the only one thinking Chelsea was showing signs of improvement in recent weeks. I thought that they've been missing chances, and because it's kind of off the back of some silly results, it's kind of like, Chelsea are mucking around again. But when you're watching the games and watching what they're doing, and there is improvement, there is some things coming. And I've always felt this season, it's a striker. It is a striker. And it's getting that balance in them all understanding where they sit in terms of positional, I think, because that midfield is going to come good. I've always felt that Chelsea this season will be a bit like Arsenal from 2 years or 3 years ago. Where the first half, we'll have a good week, we'll have a bad week, we'll have a good week, we'll have a bad week. And then in the second half of the season, we'll start to see some consistency that then says for next season, okay, we're on something. Because there's enough talent in that squad and say, well,
100%.
There's question marks sometimes over Pochettino, top level, I think. But he's good enough to put a team together there that's going to cause people trouble and be able to manage some of the challenges within the Premier League. And there's no Europe for Chelsea, so they've got every week to work on what they're doing. And as you say, a striker is an issue, but it's Chelsea. So Nkunku is out for a long time as well. They're hoping Nicholas Jackson comes through. And if it doesn't, they'll go and buy someone in January. So as long as they can get to there.
I was going to actually say as well, obviously, about the Pochettino thing. I've openly admitted that I'm not his biggest fan. But what I can say with Pochettino is, especially with young talent, he can obviously build a team. And obviously that way, we see it at Spurs as well. And he brought through people from the academy, Southampton as well. But I think with Chelsea, and I don't know if it is kosher because he's been linked with quite a lot of clubs, but I've seen strong rumours about Tony being linked there, being linked with Arsenal. And I think that kind of player they need someone who can find the back of the net and stuff. But obviously it depends on the situation with him when he comes back. I actually think, to be fair, Lukaku would have been decent for them this season because they just need that all-out goal scorer kind of thing. And I think with the work rate of you've got Raheem Sterling, you've got Mudryk as well. I think just a goal scorer at the end of that would have been perfect. But as you mentioned, it is Chelsea, so they'll probably see someone from Brighton. Probably might get Danny Welbeck. No,
I meant that Danny
if
Welbeck.
he's doing all right.
Neil Mopai, why not?
Exactly.
Who knows?
It's always someone from Brighton.
Yeah, they love a bit of that. Yeah, I mean, as you said about going back to Sanchez is an interesting one because it was a tale of the goalkeepers again in this one with mistakes. And so I think Graham said here with those two goalkeepers, it was never going to be a 0-0. And we'll come on to what Arteta and Arsenal, because obviously the goalkeepers at Arsenal is a massive talking point every week at the minute. But I think, as you said, Sanchez's one was just at 2-0 up. You don't do anything silly. I get this. Everyone's trying to play out from the back, but it was such a poor pass that he hit out to Declan Rice, kind of without any kind of concentration or thought. And that changed the game. All of a sudden, 2-1 then with 15 minutes to go, and Chelsea have gifted 2 points in the end. Arsenal have done well to work it back if you look at it from that aspect. But wow, I mean, you cannot be making those kind of errors at that level. You get punished. And then going on to Arsenal, what do you make of this David Raya, Aaron Ramsdale, two goalkeepers fighting it out, Arteta brainwave?
Yeah, I just find it very strange, me, and I think I said it on a couple of podcasts ago where, don't get me wrong, I do kind of get the whole cup keeper, league keeper kind of thing, because obviously you want to keep your goalkeeper fit, because the last thing you need is obviously one of them playing every single game, getting injured, and then you're pretty much screwed. But I feel like with this one, I think it's very weird because it doesn't really give... I feel like it kind of messes with the whole like back lineup doing that. Obviously Ramsdale was doing okay, and then obviously you've got Raya, who is a good keeper, but I think he's been under pressure with both. Then it's lack of confidence, things like that. And I always say, don't change your goalkeeper too much in the league. If you have to, then fair enough, but don't change it too much, because I think it just totally, like, the dynamic changes then, and it puts your defence under a lot of pressure. Then your defence and your goalkeeper don't kind of have that bond, and you need someone, like, don't get me wrong, injuries can come into it, as we've seen with other teams, but I just feel like your back four need to kind of trust your goalkeeper, and the same with the goalkeeper and the back four. And I think if you just constantly chopping and changing it and things like that, it's just not going to do you any favours. And I think with Raya as well, he's kind of been under a lot of pressure, and I think he has made a few mistakes as well. So it is a weird one. I think that is going to knock his confidence.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's another case in this instance of Arteta trying to... He almost seems to want to do something, and this was a little bit with Thomas playing Thomas Partey, I thought, a right back at the start of the season. Innovation for innovation's sake. He wants to generate something that's kind of seen in the same light, I think, as Pep gets for, like this inverted fullback.
I was going to say
he wants
that,
something that everyone goes, oh, what a genius idea. I agree with you. I think it just adds too much pressure on... It's added pressure on David Raya coming in. Ramsdale doesn't know where he's positioned at. So then when he comes in... And you got these, and the other thing with goalkeepers, they work with each other every day, and there can be a certain amount of support in each other, but they've got to be at the same time. If your mate's playing phenomenal all the time, you're not playing. There is that element, and I know that happens in other positions. But as you said, the goalkeeper is so key to that back four. For a couple of years, I played at fullback, and we had a goalkeeper who can only be classed as an utter clown sat behind us. He was a nightmare, and he was a lunatic as a person as well. And you just never knew what was going to happen. Absolutely no idea. I think once he tried to, my back was turned as we were running out, and he threw the ball at me and didn't even shout. And next thing I know, there's a winger running at me. I'm going, what's going on? Turn around, and that was the kind of thing that we had. If you don't have that confidence, the whole thing can kind of fall to pieces. And
you need to trust as well, don't you? Like, you need to trust from either side. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Everyone's got a mistake in them. We're only human. But if they're constantly like chopping and changing, or if you're putting a goalkeeper in who's obviously lacking confidence and things like that, and I thought it was a strange move to begin with, to be honest, because obviously Brentford, like the number one keeper there, and I just don't get it, because I'm not Aaron Ramsdale's biggest fan, but I don't get what he's kind of done wrong as well.
Yeah, I don't know whether because there was a bit of criticism of him at the end of last season, which I thought was a little harsh. When push came to shove and there was a few mistakes in high-profile games. But goalkeepers have that. All goalkeepers have that through a season. I think that there could be cause that was that just his part. He just happened to be at the most crucial time of the season. It wasn't enough to go, he's a bad keeper, because he's not a bad keeper. He's been a very, very good keeper. Heather certainly agrees he's too good to be sat on the bench. I know she's a big fan of Ramsdale. It is a funny one. David Reyes too is a good goalkeeper, as you say. Mixing, they've got they've got Champions League. There might be something they could do there, but this isn't going to work long term. This isn't going to work long term. Sooner or later, one of them will become the established number one through the performances, and the other one will not want to be number two. So eventually, you're not going to end up in that situation. And then what are you going to happen? Are you going to buy a goalkeeper, and when you say, "Come and be my 1.5," you might be number one.
I was just going to say that. Or both of them, like, oh, no, none of you are good enough. Let's get a new number one, David De Gea.
This is it. This is it. This is Football Manager 101. When you buy a player and you tell them both they're going to be indispensable and they're the top man at the squad, one of them is going to get annoyed with you because they ain't going to be playing because you've told them something else. So it is crazy. We'll go to the chat and what people think about it in here. So I think going back to the mistake, of course, that Sanchez made. Yeah, Rice's composure was first class for the goal. Absolutely, he took that very well. Lovely to see Declan thriving. Josh, of course, has joined us in the chat. He's running the podcast chat tonight in terms of in the background. So he's not a fan of two keepers. How can they build consistency? No, it's very true. But to be fair, you have Alisson, who is the best in the league. So you don't have to worry about
any of this. Alisson, he's quality. He's my favourite Liverpool player.
He is different class, and it makes such a difference. Craig believes Ramsdale's the better keeper. Can you think Arteta prefers Rare because he's Spanish? You'd hope that's not the case. And Shawnee says Sanchez is very lucky to stay on the pitch. He made no attempt for the ball for a potential penalty. Yet again, another one. It was very Anana-esque from that first week where he came steaming out and crazy stuff with the decisions and the officials. But we'll try not to go too much on that because we've done that every week so far with the officials. We'll see. And we've got the Merseyside derby to talk about yet, so that might come up. But Simon says, is Raya more comfortable with the ball at his feet? Because if he is, that could be why. I think that's true. I think that's kind of what he wants, isn't it, out of Raya? But that seems to be number one, isn't it? Can they play? Can they play with their feet rather than can they give you confidence at the back? And Raya obviously got chipped from a crazy position. Did Budrick did he mean that, do you think? Did he mean that or did he slice it?
I think he sliced it.
It just had to be him as well, didn't it? With all the beef between Chelsea and Arsenal over his signature last time. So, but a good point for Arsenal. You know, Stamford Bridge, when Chelsea are at it, is a very difficult place to go and get points from. So the way they can look at it is it's a point gained rather than two drops, obviously after the Manchester City one. So they can kind of grab something from it. But and they almost won it late on, didn't they, with Eddie Nketiah? There was a real late chance for them to absolutely turn it around. But yeah, interesting game, that's for sure. A 2-2, very, very exciting game, that's for sure. Mr. Luke adding in the chat, keeper competition, you see they're scrapping for their lives for the number one shirt. Lisa's adding Rice baby, and Heather's not happy with her goalkeeper either, has completely lost it. Which segues us very quickly. We're not going to go too much into sort of the games, but just generally, Bournemouth and Burnley were two sides we want to touch on because we haven't spoken too much about them on the podcast so far this season, but both have found themselves struggling and in the relegation zone. We'll start with Bournemouth, of course. I think it got a lot more publicity. It was more in the media this weekend because it was Gary O'Neill, because of that, that aspect. I know there was a sending off, which obviously massively affects the game, but no wins for Bournemouth, struggling now down in the relegation zone, trying to bring a new style of football on board. Do you worry for Bournemouth, and in particular, the manager's got to be under serious pressure?
I do worry for Bournemouth. I think there's been a lot of talk as well that he could potentially be the first one, to be sacked, the manager. I know there's a lot of people saying that he's close to being sacked. I don't know how true it is though. But I think there was a lot of pressure on him to begin with because obviously it was a bit out of the blue, wasn't it? The Gary O'Neill sacking. I know we were all a bit shocked, weren't we, when the news broke about that. And yeah, I think because of the players they've signed as well, because they have signed a good few players, haven't they? I don't know if it's the style of play and they're adapting to a different style of play. Heather might be able to tell us more. I don't know if it's just players gelling. I'm not really too sure what's going on there, but I think it's massively a worry, especially considering the teams around them are gaining points as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. And we'll come back to that because there's been another goal in the live football today. James Maddison, which is great for my dream team. Excellent for my dream team. Tottenham look like they're going top. And the Ange revolution looks like it continues tonight with a 2-0 lead over Fulham. Yeah, I think if I recall, I think we were talking, Heather was updating us and when it was the start of the season, and there was I think the board came out, didn't they, and kind of made a statement and said, look, the reason we're getting rid of Gary O'Neill, we want to change the way that we want to progress how we're playing. We want to see ourselves as kind of a mid-table growing club in the Premier League. It's ambitious, which you can't knock ambition, but we've seen other clubs sort of do it as well. Try to do it too quickly rather than kind of an incremental step. And therefore then you lose the solidarity and a manager taking in a manager as well that hasn't got any Premier League experience as well to try and change that. They bought a number of players to bring into a new system to try and build that up. Heather mentions they bought a load of injured players, which also doesn't help as well. It's a lot. It's a lot to kind of take in, and I think it's only going to end one way. The way I can see it, there's kind of no signs I've seen yet that he's going to stick it out. I've not seen anything of him, to be honest. Generally, I think whether he now gets a bit more kind of in the media, and I know some clubs get more headlines and more media and such and everything else. But I can't remember I couldn't tell you what he looks like. I don't think I've even seen him appear on Match of the Day or anything else like that. So even sort of the personality to the media is not there, and that tends to spin a whole of web, chaos as well. Heather said they've got no CDM, of course. I think Tyler Adams is injured again. He's out for a long period.
That's a shame.
I do worry where Bournemouth are at the moment for sure. That they need to pick some points up for sure. It's difficult. Graham mentions in the chat the goal difference of the bottom three is the big concern. Sheffield United -17, Bournemouth -16, Burnley -16 after 9 games is a big worry. So, but worried about Bournemouth. And what about Burnley, Claire? What's it, Claire? Claire's in the chat. Where's Claire? She's everywhere. Claire's here. Hi, Claire. This is it. I've got Claire's. I'm thinking about where's Claire already. What do you think about Burnley? Shah?
It's a weird one because, to be honest, out of the 3 teams that got promoted, I thought Burnley would be the better of them, and I don't know if it's because I automatically thought Vincent Kompany got him playing some really good stuff. He's had experience from Pep Guardiola. He can get on the phone to Pep Guardiola as well if he wants any more players. So I think that kind of came into it, and the fact they're playing more attacking and appealing football. But now come to think of it, like when I've watched them and just by hearing the scores and things like that, I think they haven't really signed that many quality Premier League type players. I think a lot of them have been young up and coming talent, or they've been like established championship players as well. So I think that's kind of been the problem with Burnley. And I just think, I don't know if it's because they go into places trying to play football, it's kind of backfiring on them instead of being a typical Burnley Sean Dyche kind of team, like defend for your life. I just don't really know what's going on, but I am very surprised because I thought out of the 3 teams, they would be the one doing better. But it is a weird one, isn't it, with Burnley? I just can't put my finger on what's going on. They play some tough teams as well, but even the teams around them, they've not really been getting many points, have they, from those?
No, it's still they're too open whenever I've seen them. There's too many ways I think you can hurt them, and it is a bit of naivety coming up from the Championship to play that way. We've seen teams try it doesn't always work. It can be entertaining. I mean, remember Leeds coming up, and Leeds were fantastic, excitement the way they did it, but eventually they kind of struggled with it. It's difficult to maintain. I think Norwich tried it without their capability and got absolutely destroyed, didn't they, for a season when they came up and tried to play that way. Needs to buckle down a bit. There's some talent there. I think Kompany's just going to have to. This is where we're going to learn about him as a manager. Is he willing to adapt some of those principles to be more effective and get Burnley more resolute, or is he going to die on his shield and, Burnley go down and he's playing the same football when we get to March, April? Because they're creating things. They've got some dangerous players. One or two of the players they bought. I like that Colio show. He's really exciting whenever I've seen him. He's
really
a fantastic
good
player. But again, they just concede so many goals at the moment. It is. I think I think they've lost out where they couldn't bring some of those loan players back from last season as well.
Yeah.
If you recall, I think they had Harewood Bellis alongside Bayer. He's gone to Southampton now, I think, on loan. They tried to get him and couldn't. The other one was Nathan Teller, of course. Nathan Teller was their top goal scorer last season. Couldn't get him back. Ian Matson, who's sat on the Chelsea bench at the minute. They wanted him.
Yeah.
Couldn't get him back. A lot of changes from that team from the Championship to try and work through, as well as then trying to play the same style, but with some of your best players that are in that style not available either.
I feel like they've not really got a plan B as well. Like, obviously, they go in to play football and attack, but then when it gets to a point where obviously they go 1-0 down, I don't think they've really got a plan B. They just kind of stick with that kind of football. And as you said, it's leaving them open. Obviously, the counter-attack as well. They are very, very vulnerable, aren't they?
They are very vulnerable. It's a bit of a mixed feel, I think, in the chat. Mr. Luke reckons that they should be fine. He reckons that they'll be okay. Heather says Burnley come to Bournemouth this week, so that's a very big one, sort of very topical with us talking about those two coming in. Very excited. Anthony, thank you for joining us. He's just joined us here tonight with Vincent coming. He has to persevere with his ideas or adapt to the league by playing a percentage-based game, much like Dice did. Yeah, I think we said that's interesting, needs to happen. And Claire's given Burnley some stick in the chat. Well, your sister is your mother and your brother is your father, Claire. Outrageous. Outrageous. And welcome as well to Aled. Aled has joined us as well. I just remembered it was on. We're still here. Don't worry. There's still plenty to come before we're done just yet. So we've done Bournemouth, we've done Burnley. There was another derby as well this weekend, 12:30. Jurgen Klopp's favourite time. Loves a football game at 12:30. Liverpool 2, Everton 0. What do you make overall of, say, that as a scoreline, and then we'll go into the game in particular?
Yeah, it was one of them where obviously I kind of thought Liverpool would score more, and obviously from their attacking chances and things like that, I thought they would score more. I just thought Everton have got no chance. I was always expecting a Liverpool win, even though it's a derby. I just always expected a Liverpool win. But the game in general, obviously Ashley Young got sent off, didn't he, for 2 yellow cards. That was quite early. Was it about half an hour into the game he got sent off? And kind of from there, I think Everton did well to hold on for so long, because it weren't until later on in the second half, was it, that Salah obviously scored. But Mo Salah, if anyone's going to score, it is Mo Salah, isn't it? But yeah, Everton, I don't know what to expect with Everton, because I just think they're on a downward spiral as well. And we've said it, haven't we, constantly, like each pod. And I know they pick up points now and again, but they're just not great at it, Everton. Yeah,
it was a real funny one. So Josh obviously thinks it's the best derby. It's his favourite. He loves his early 6 points. This is 6 points every season against Everton. Yeah, but at least Kira got the bragging rights in the WSL. At least has ever got a win there. So she's happy on that side. So it's all right. I think she can cope with this one. I thought the same as you. I thought Liverpool would clearly walk through that game fairly simple once they kind of got through the derby emotion of it all with sort of Everton, and particularly going down to 10 men. Ashley Young, just when they signed him, I think he did a great job for Villa. He was important in the dressing room. He's a good leader. I think I could understand him being part of the squad. I think it works, but I just defensively with those legs, he was always prone to a booking when he was at Manchester United 100%. By silly tackles. And you stick him up against Luis Diaz, and then you stick him up against Luis Diaz on a booking, then you're just absolutely, Graham's got it right in the chat there. Ashley Young, and 2 stupid yellows, says Claire.
On a derby day as well, I'm sorry, but on a derby day, when all the emotions are running, it's also high tempo as well, isn't it, from both teams? And I think to myself, like, someone's obviously you're going to get carded, you're going to get sent off. There's always in a derby, there's always like something, isn't there, that goes on. So yeah, I think it was quite silly, to be honest, especially someone with his experience as well. I just think there was just no need.
No, it wasn't, because at that point Everton weren't doing too bad. You know, I think
No.
they were kind of in the game. Calvert-Lewin had an opportunity early
Yeah.
doors, and then it just meant at that 10, it made it very, very, very difficult. You know, with Liverpool's attacking threat, and they were patient in the way that they were going about it as well. Liverpool. So they've got some very exciting additions to that team. Szoboszlai is
100%.
fantastic. I mean, when they signed him, I thought they're onto a real. The fee they've got him for is an absolute steal. He's a worldie of a player, and it just kind of. You knew it was coming. You were sort of watching it, even though it wasn't like knocking at the door, because Everton were defending quite well. Actually, I thought they defended quite well, but I think, I just think that I thought Salah scored the 2 goals.
Yeah.
But when I was watching him, he wasn't quite at it. It wasn't the Salah that we saw this game at all. Because I captained him as my dream team, because I was like, Everton, he loves Everton, he'll score it. And he was almost playing like quick cross balls rather than when you see Salah get down, try and take a man on one and open up some space. So I think the goals kind of flattered his performance at the weekend. But that's Mo Salah. He only needs a chance. And so
exactly.
The penalty was the penalty, and Darwin Núñez laid it on a plate for him. So he got the 2. But Szoboszlai in particular, Diaz in that Liverpool attack is a different gravy this season. You know, he doesn't kind of get the plaudits I think he should, because I think Diaz is one of their most exciting players when he's kind of at it.
Completely agree.
And they got the win up against 10 men. We will of course come to of course a lot of the talk has been around the sending off of Ashley Young, and then the incident with Ibrahima Konate as well. So I think if I just find it here in the chat, I think Anthony asked the question, if I can find it. There it is. What does everybody think about the Young sending off? I think, sending off, 2 stupid bookings. No question for me. Should Liverpool midfielder, Konate, defender, should he have been sent off for a second yellow too?
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I'll fill in then. I'll give you, because I know Josh will want to have his say on this one. Subjective for me, Anthony. It was more relieved with Konate getting away with one. Even Klopp mentioned that being a lucky one. Yeah, I think for me it was a second yellow. I think because of what had happened in this first game, and we're all calling for consistency. And in the same game, I think the same consistency had to be applied. It wasn't as obvious as Ashley Young's, but it was a clear block. And I think right in kind of front of him, I can't really understand why it wasn't given. I don't think it changes the outcome of the game, if I'm completely honest, because I do think even at 10 versus 10, Liverpool had the control of that game. Always something could happen, no guarantee, but that would have been my feel, as it still would have gone the way that it went for. So, for me, probably was the case. Difficult. A difficult one, because there's been so many decisions. There's been so many talks about Liverpool and referees and kind of a furore. It was going to be guaranteed something would happen in the game that kind of brings that discussion up again, because that seems to be, there's always seemed to be a club that's in that storm when they kind of have something, then they have the next 2-3 weeks and fans are picking that incident versus that incident versus that incident. But on that day, I think he should have gone for a second yellow. Should have gone. It was a breakaway and he tripped him, but there you go. So there we go. I'm not going to put all of Josh's stuff in the chat, because if you want to know Josh's view on it, you can look at his Twitter, because his Twitter will give you his opinion on all this stuff to do with Everton. But I will pick this one up. Too many men defending for Salah to be able to stretch them. I can see that, but I think there was also 1 or 2 occasions where he did have the opportunity to run at the guy, and he seemed to choose like the bending shot sort of quite quickly, which is not like Salah at it for me. Gets it down, and he would have run at him and then created half a space and sort of done it. But still got 2 goals, so he can't really complain too much. So there we go. Graham's firing shots as well in the chat. Liverpool going to get every decision now after Spurs. I'm not getting involved, Graham. I'm not getting involved.
We're saying nothing.
So there we go. So that's most of the games we're going to cover. I will bring up the league table now, so we can sort of chat about 1 or 2 of the other games very briefly if it comes up. There it is. There is the league table. Other games we didn't cover, of course, Brentford with a strong 3-0 win over Burnley, as we said. Burnley's struggling. And Buemo are on the score sheet with a fantastic goal in that game. Great win for them. Manchester City 2, Brighton and Hove Albion 1. Manchester City were brilliant in that first period.
Yep.
And then Brighton came back in. It was a very De Zerbi sort of type of game. There's moments with Brighton where they look all over the show defensively, and then there's moments where they look fantastic. So, I think 2-1 probably. I don't think 2 are going to be too miffed at that scoreline either side. Brighton are not an easy win to get, and they've gone to Manchester City and lost 2-1.
Exactly.
And Man City got that
Exactly.
tremendous home winning record, and they needed a win after the recent matches as well, didn't they? So good win if you're a Manchester City fan. Not that I am, but they've won.
We're jealous. Well, I am anyway.
Another win. Nottingham Forest 2, Luton Town 2. It's a good little fight back from Luton. Good little fight back. A good point for them at Nottingham Forest. You kind of
Weird one with Forest as well, isn't it? Because we've seen a lot of potential with Nottingham Forest, and obviously a lot of their signings this season, they've kind of not been as stupid as last season. You can kind of see talent, and they're very quick, aren't they, on the counter attack as well, Nottingham Forest, especially like forward wise. You've got Alanga, you've got people like that. So I think that's a really good result from Luton as well. I really do. It's good to show some fight from them, and obviously be scoring in the Premier League, which is good.
Yeah,
that's
they
one
are.
thing I was like, will they score, won't they score? But it's good that they are scoring goals.
Yeah, where the goals come from, Forest have been playing well. I think their win came away from home as well, didn't it? When they got their win, so to pick points up away from home, they'll be pleased. And of course, yes, there's still a long way to go. They're still well and truly in the fight, but
exactly.
But yeah, so Craig says Nottingham Forest have tough away games, but not too many lower teams getting draws there. Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. And then of course the bottom one, which I won't talk about in too much detail, but Manchester United with a demolishing win. Definitely not the case at Sheffield United. My word, 2-1 against Sheffield United. I watched that alongside watching the England rugby game, so it was an absolute emotional fest of Saturday night viewing, that's for sure. The ironic thing is England rugby I thought played very well and lost, and United didn't play particularly well but won.
With that game though as well, right? And I'm not just saying it because I'm a fan, but I think that game would have been perfect for Mason Mount. I honestly think because he's been playing. I think he's been playing quite well, to be fair, for Manchester United. I know obviously they've not been playing very well as a whole, but I think he's not been playing that bad, and I think that would have been like the perfect game for him to play, Mason Mount.
I think because of the McTominay Brentford thing, I think that's what forced it. He was always going to start McTominay, and I know McTominay scored, but it just. He didn't really. I think this was some crazy stat. He barely had any touches in the midfield. What United were trying to do was baffling me, because it was just, if you're coming to Sheffield United and you're sitting back, what's that telling you about what your plan and your tactic is? You should be going to, with no offense to Sheffield United, impose your game and win the match.
Exactly.
There should be none of that, and I couldn't work out what we're trying to do. And then trying to play some like long ball stuff. It was very odd. And again, as Manchester United have been, when they win games, it's because of moments. United are a moments team. We got a moment from Diogo Dalot, which got us massively out of trouble. A kind of a moment from McTominay, a really good finish,
very good finish,
but not a rhythm. You know what I mean? Like a play that you can kind of see. Oh, okay. There's a that's the way they've trained that, or final third, a movement kind of touch. It's a moment, and it's worrying. It is very worrying, because although they're getting.
Give a shout out to Harry Maguire, because I know a lot of us have been very critical of Harry Maguire, but I think he played really, really well. And obviously he got man of the match as well. Well-deserved man of the match, I thought. As much as we are his critics, I do like to say, well done, when he's played well. So, yeah, I think the last couple of games he's done all right.
He's been good. I've got to call him out when he's played well. And I think this kind of game suits him down to the ground perfectly. Physically, he was having to win headers. He was having to get on on the striker, and that's where he thrives. That is Maguire. And again, no disrespect to Sheffield United, but this is the bottom of the Premier League, top of the Championship. You would expect Harry Maguire to dominate that, but he did. He was the strong defender, and he's also playing in a back four at the minute. We've got Lindelof at left back, who, to be fair to him, is doing the best he can.
He's doing all right, isn't he?
But there were so many opportunities where you're thinking, if there was Luke Shaw or Reguilon, someone to whip it in, and suddenly you're like, Victor Lindelof's on the attacking left position. How have we ended up here? Is frustrating. So they've got those kind of things to contend with. But Maguire's played well last couple of games. Yeah, I think they've suited him. Brentford and Sheffield United, I mean, he may well start against Copenhagen now in midweek as well. He's kind of been on a bit of a run, so Yeah, it'd be nice to
Him
him.
now.
Yeah,
Poor lad.
and this is it. Now we'll have it'll be a Champions League shocker. But Anthony says saved it from going in. He saved the 3 points. Craig makes a good point and says, yeah, the Man United can win ugly. Other teams in around them don't. That's why they're ahead of those teams. Yeah, unfortunately, it's the mid-table teams. We need to be a little bit higher. That's the concern. They do need to get a bit. They do need to put a performance in because I've not yet seen something from them really that gives me too much hope. And it's the Manchester derby next weekend, so that will be lovely for all involved, I am sure.
Oh.
But there we go. So that is the table as it sits. That is the Premier League as we go into a European midweek, and we go into Premier League next weekend. But as we're going to go into a European midweek, let's go through the European League. Let's find out what's going everywhere. I can't remember which one I put first, so this will be a surprise.
I need to find my notes as well because I'm on my phone.
It will be La Liga. Right, Charles going to try and find her notes, and I'm going to try and find my notes. Here we go. So it's time for a bit of La Liga, and Charles, you'll be pleased to know it was the Sergio Ramos reunion derby. The Sevilla played Real Madrid. They looked briefly like the home side were going to get the victory after a David Alaba own goal before a Dani Carvajal leveller made it a 1-1 draw between Sevilla and Madrid. It's good for Sevilla because they've been struggling. A good point for them against Real Madrid. They're still towards the bottom, but they play Arsenal in midweek, so that will be interesting. But again, however, as with Spain at the minute, a fan had to be ejected from the stadium for racist behaviour towards Vinicius Junior. To be fair, Sevilla did react really well, and they received praise actually from Vinicius Junior. I think he came out and for how quickly and well they reacted with it. But let's just stop it. It's awful behaviour. Well done, Sevilla, for kicking the idiot out of the stadium. But it's sad still to be hearing reports like that coming out of Spanish football. Barcelona. Well, they had a number of players out, so they had some very young.
A lot of injuries, haven't they? A lot of quality injuries as well.
It all seems to have happened at the same time. So they came into the game with Pedri, Frankie de Jong, Lewandowski, Jules Koundé, Rafinha, Sergio Roberto, all out.
I didn't know it was all of them.
It was all of those, and they had literally like a youth team on the bench, and it was a guy who came off called Marc Jouy. I think he's Marc Jouy. I think that's how you pronounce it. I've been trying to learn how to pronounce it today. That's how we're going with it. Jouy, 17 years old, came off the bench and with 28 seconds of his debut scored. And I think there's a comment from Xavi that said, this is your moment. You're going to get a touch. You're going to score. This is, it's almost like Eminem in Lose Yourself. He was kind of like, take your moment. This is it. And he did. And the emotions, they showed some pictures of his family and everything else like that. Amazing scenes. But it allowed Barcelona to get a 1-0 victory. Absolutely amazing. And then, of course, the team that we've been talking about sat in second place. Not my Girona or your Girona, but our Girona battered Almeria 5-2. They've now scored 25 goals in 10 matches, which is more than both Barcelona and Real Madrid. I think their only loss came to, Madrid. They are staying up there. It's pretty amazing. I mean, Mr. Luke saying in the chat, Girona in the Champions League, what a sight that would be. Absolutely. And it's crazy. And Josh has met someone who has a home in Girona saying how the atmosphere is amazing. I can only imagine. I mean, to suddenly be sort of pumping up those heights, they'll be very pleased with that. Absolutely. Can they do anything more? We'll see how Girona's season continues, but very exciting for them. Elsewhere, Atletico Madrid continued their strong form with a 5th win in 5 away matches at struggling Celta Vigo. So they've been on some great form themselves. And Antoine Griezmann hat-trick proving to be too strong to stop Atletico Madrid's run. He now has 7 goals in 9 La Liga games so far this season. So Griezmann's having a bit of a twilight return to goal scoring under Atletico Madrid. Next up, Real Sociedad defeated Mallorca to maintain 5th spot as Rayo Vallecano's victory over 10-man Las Palmas sees them up to 7th. Granada sit in the relegation zone with a 2-0 loss to Osasuna, and draws for Villarreal and Alaves, and Getafe and Real Betis finish off La Liga. There we go. They're sorted. This is normally the point where I pass over to my co-host Lucas, who's not here. So I'm going to pass back to myself and some very last-minute notes I've made on Serie A.
My bad Italian accent.
Here we go. We'll go to Shah for some pronunciations if we need to. the big. Oh, we're just going to go to this actually in the chat. So Anthony was telling us about the goal for Barcelona. The debutant took his goal very well in the amazing moment.
Very cool and composed.
It was composed, and his his mum bought his dad the My Sharona record for a Valentine's gift. There we go. That may have to be the song. If Girona win La Liga, there we go. We'll all sing it on the May podcast. If Girona win La Liga. So back to, of course, Serie A. So Juventus came on top in the battle at the top against AC Milan in this week's. AC Milan had a sending off, which did cost them in the end. They failed to take the opportunity to go top Milan, and it was actually their former midfielder, Manuel Locatelli, who did the damage with a deflected winner, winning the game for Juventus, making it tight up the top. Inter stuffed Torino 3-0, so they still remain top of the table, or they go top of the table, sorry. And probably one of the other big news is that you might have seen doing the rounds today. Jose Mourinho, he's not shy of making the newspapers, is he? As Roma beat Monza 1-0. Jose Mourinho with a red card for making crybaby gestures towards the Monza bench to the winner. The thing is, it's so out of character. It's so out of character. I cannot believe that. Apparently, it's got some links back to some shenanigans between the two last season. And again, Mourinho's not the sort to hold a grudge either, is he? He lets things go. But yes, Mourinho got a sending off. Roma got the 1-0 victory, but they're not really hitting all cylinders as of yet this season. Elsewhere, we've got one of the games I picked up. Salernitana versus Calgary. They shared a Desmond, and it was quite interesting because that score was actually 0-0 after 78 minutes and then went bonkers in the last 12 minutes with 4 goals. So they had a nice little draw there. Atlanta beat Genoa, I think I can see there. And elsewhere, there was games today. Udinese Lecce played earlier. I don't know what the score was. Fiorentina were playing Empoli. I don't know what the score is. If you can find it in the chat and chuck it in, I'll chuck it up.
I know, please do.
Particularly the Fiorentina one, because if they're winning, then they sort of sniff their way back into the fight as well. So let us know if you can see those as well. So next up, we're going around Europe. And this is the Bundesliga. And I must go now to the notes I have been sent, of course, all the way from the twinned with Germany. It's from Slough, all the way from Slough tonight.
I'm waiting for Alonso's moment.
I'm sure we've got something. Josh has told me this took some time, so I will read it out as he's written it. It's another exciting weekend for the Bundesliga, which, just like last year, things are looking very competitive early on, but those leading teams look like they could actually go the distance, which would be lovely, as who wants more boring Bayern? And wouldn't the irony of Harry Kane not winning the title just be delicious? Talking of last year, the leaders of the league this time last year sadly seem to be well and truly suffering as they lost their 8th consecutive match in all competitions. Oh, Union Berlin, what's going on? Although you could argue they're very unlucky to come up against a very informed Stuttgart and an informed Guirassy who can't stop scoring, opening his account for the day in the 16th minute with his 14th goal in his 8th league match and Stuttgart's 6th win in a row. There you go. There's statistics everywhere. It wasn't all smiles, however, as after a careless pass, he was taken off injured 30th minute for Dennis Undav, who's joined them from Brighton. Stuttgart continued to create chances, but without their star striker, they struggled to find the net until the 81st minute when substitute Katompa Mvumpa, a name not out of place in Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, made the win certain with their second goal. Then just to rub salt in the wound, Dennis Undav, the sub for the injured Guirassy, chipped in with the 3rd goal of the game in the 88th minute. Borussia Dortmund took on Werder Bremen. As the story goes so far all season, they just struggled to really assert themselves on the game. Certainly having the bulk of possession and chances, they just never seem totally in control. Even when they did create chances, they don't have anyone there to finish them off. Who would have thought replacing Haaland would be so tough? The one chance that did actually come to something was in the 67th minute, crafted by an Emre Can pass in the middle of the box, where Julian Brandt, on his 300th Bundesliga appearance, was able to ping a cute chip over the keeper to make it 1-0 and secure 3 points for Dortmund. If I was a Borussia fan, I would not be looking forward to the next 2 months as they come up against Newcastle twice, Stuttgart, Bayern Munich, Milan, Leverkusen, Leipzig and PSG. Oh my God, that's a shocking run. Wow. After that, they could certainly be desperate for the Christmas break. The quickest goal of the season. One of the teams that just mentioned, RB Leipzig, started their match against Darmstadt with the quickest goal of the season, with Luis Openda scoring in the 45th second on their way to a 3-1 victory, although it was not as dominating as the score would suggest, with the second goal a free kick that really should have been saved by the keeper, who let the ball almost comically slip through his hands, and Darmstadt making it 2-1 with a goal just before half-time. Hang on, I've lost my notes. Where have they gone? They're back again. Just before half-time. The third goal was a second for Openda in the 72nd minute, but was originally ruled out for offside. But following a quick and correct intervention by VAR, take note, the PGMOL, the goal was awarded and everyone went home happy. Well, the Leipzig fans did anyway. Over to Mainz, they were taken on a Bayern Munich side who had surprisingly lost the last 3 times they'd come to Mainz's MEWA arena. However, a fourth victory over the reigning Bundesliga champions wasn't on the cards, as Kingsley Coman, who's now scored 4 goals in 3 games for club and country, scored a belter, smashing it in from just inside the right-hand corner of the penalty area. Just 5 minutes later, Bayern were at it again with a free kick leading to a little game of head tennis, leading to a Harry Kane goal in the 16th minute. Mainz managed to score just before half-time to send them buoyant into the changing rooms with hope they could turn the tie, and very neatly scored equaliser early in the second half. But less than 10 minutes later, Leon Goretzka finished a move which was beautifully crafted by Liverpool and Man City target Musiala. And I'm going to add Real Madrid, Josh. I know you don't want to know that Real Madrid are involved in linking to Musiala, but they are, I've heard. So Real Madrid I'm adding in there as well. Throughout the game, it was very easy to see, well, these two are both so interested in the midfield maestro. But let's be honest, no one wants to see him go to City. So let's just hope they naff off their boring football and leave him alone. He's going to Madrid. Despite this win, however, there's still mumblings about Tuchel's future at the club, and this disharmony could very favour a certain former super silky, sexy midfielder, now manager of another team in the Bundesliga. Can you guess who it is? Of course, we all know. Talking about your friend of mine, Mr. Xabi Alonso, as yet again his luscious Leverkusen march on with yet another victory. Woohoo! Despite being in the goals for most of the season, Boniface this week turned provider as he beasted his way down the left wing and sent in a cross to the other end of the box, where wingback Frimpong headed a goal and that the keeper thought he had kept out but was judged to be over the line. However, Wolfsburg battled on and pulled one back to make it 1-1 before the break. The battling, never say die attitude of Leverkusen was on display in the second half as the other wingback for Leverkusen scored as Alex Grimaldo smashed in an absolute beauty to make it 2-1, which despite more efforts on goal by Leverkusen as the scoreline the game ended. This means Bayer Leverkusen are, after 8 games, are still top of the table only by 1 point ahead of Stuttgart, who themselves are 1 point ahead of both Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund, who are both only 3 points ahead of Leipzig in 5th place, who are only 2 points ahead of Hoffenheim, only 2 points ahead of Frankfurt and Freiburg, only 1 point ahead of Wolfsburg, who are 4 points ahead of Augsburg, only 1 point ahead of Heidenheim and Darmstadt, only 1 point ahead of Borussia Munich Gladbach, it says here, and Werder Bremen and Union Berlin, who are only 2 points ahead of Köln and Bochum, who are only 2 points ahead of Mainz, who sit at the bottom of the table. Gute Nacht. There we go.
I'm brave.
There we go. What's the next? What's the next league? I'm hoping it's Scotland. I'm hoping it's Scotland.
You can go to Scotland first if you like.
We're gonna go to Scotland while I have a drink and Shah takes over for a minute. So over to you, Shah.
Yeah, so there was actually only 3 games in the Scottish League, and I don't think it helped because obviously we all saw the weather. What happened? Was it Storm Babette? It was called.
I think it was, yeah. Bebeto, I want to call it.
Call it Bebeto. But yeah, first of all, we had Kilmarnock 3, Livingston 1. So Daniel Armstrong, I've mentioned him a couple of times in recent weeks, getting on the scoreline. He actually opened the scoring for Kilmarnock in the 16th minute, but it was very short-lived, as Livingston then were awarded a penalty, which defender, I love it when a defender scores a penalty. Defender Sean Kelly converted. I just think with a defender, they just absolutely lever it, don't they? Like, there's none of this like fancy stuff, or they just go for it. So I do like a defender. Yeah, taking a penalty. Then Kyle Vassell scored the second goal of the game for Kilmarnock just before half-time. And then the forward got his second to seal the win for the home side. Kilmarnock are now 5th on 10 points. And Livingston had a mind block. Livingston is 7th on 10 points also. This isn't going very well, is it, so far? I've only gone in game 1. It's a good job there's only 3 games. Rangers 4, Hibs 0. Strong performance from Rangers, who hosted Hibs at the Ibrox. A brace from Abdallah Simmer, as well as a goal from Nicholas Raskin and Cyril Dezers. That topped off a great day for them. Hibs are obviously struggling. They picked up a few points recently, but they're back to obviously struggling again. And I just wanted to give a mention because I was so disappointed. I actually saw a picture on social media, and it was Hibs fans mocking the 1971 Ibrox disaster, where obviously 66 fans lost their lives. And I just think for tragedies like this, why would you do that? Like, innocent people lost their lives. And I just think it's absolutely disgusting. It's evil. So I know a lot of people watching this won't do it, but whenever you do see something, just call it out, because I just think it's absolutely disgusting what these people do. And I know you have banter. I know you can obviously have your say about football. You're passionate, you love your team, but something like that, it's just disgusting and such a tragedy. Innocent people losing their lives. So just don't be an idiot.
That's the message of the day. Don't be an idiot.
Message of the day. Don't be an idiot. So yeah, Rangers are second now on 18 points, and Hibs are ninth on 9 points. And the final game, Hearts 1, Celtic 4. It was a great win away from home for Celtic. Brendan Rodgers doing bits. Always rated him. Top manager. They scored really early into the game in the 4th minute when Matt O'Reilly scored a calm and composed finish. I want to say Dyson Maeda is his name. Added a second in the 23rd minute, and then it just went from bad to worse for Hearts when Celtic were awarded a penalty 2 minutes into the second half. But it was also a lifeline for them, because Rio Hatat, I want to say Hatat, I don't know, I can't say his name. If you know, please tell me what his name is. But he actually missed a penalty. Then, unfortunately, 5 minutes after the miss, Kyogo Farashi converted a third for Celtic. Hearts did get a consolation goal when Lauren Sharkland scored from the home side, but then Celtic, obviously, as Celtic do, they added a fourth to completely seal the game with Tomoki Iwata. That's what I'm going to say. They've got some really hard pronunciation, Celtic, really hard. But they are obviously top on 25 points. They are 7 points clear of Rangers. And Hearts, to be fair to them, doing very well. They are 4th on 11 points. So back to the SPL. I can't say I'm shocked with the top 2 teams.
There we go. It's as predicted. There we go. And Claire says her money's on Celtic. So yeah, if you put £1 on Celtic, Claire, you'll win back your £1. Basically, that's what likely that has to happen.
That's where Claire might be this week in the segment. She's at the bookies.
She's at the bookies, placing a winning betting slip on Celtic to win the league, which they're paying out of already, probably. Mr. Luke St. Mirren, hats off to them. And yeah, Claire in the chat, hashtag don't be a dick, I think is pretty fair to be. I'm just going back to Italy quickly because we have some updates on the score. Udinese drew 1-1 with Charlotte's favourite utility. How do you pronounce that one, Char?
Lecce.
Lecce. Charlotte's Lecce. 1-1 with Udinese. Fiorentina 2-0 down to Empoli. That's a shock, actually. That's a shocking result for Fiorentina, how well they played. And that is the score. I think it's also finished at Tottenham as well. Tottenham 2-0. Tottenham are top of the league. They continue on. Ange marches on. We've got 2 more. He's very good, very good. And we'll quickly go through these before there's a little sort of feature at the end I want to share with you. So what we have here is the Eredivisie. And the one thing I just want to focus out here is Ajax. Ajax are it's just free fall. Everything is going against Ajax here, it looks like. I mean, their fans have completely lost the plot as well. More missile throwing again at the weekend.
Yeah.
Their manager was sacked as well today. They're all over the shop and are 17th in absolutely woeful form, struggling. A 4-3 loss at the weekend. Where's it going to end? I mean, it is relegation form. A new manager, surely you get this sometimes, big sides, and then they'll kind of recover a little bit. But I mean, it's unthinkable, isn't it, for Ajax to be down there?
Do you think a lot of it is because obviously they've lost Ten Hag and then lost a lot of key players through that? Do you think that's kind of a bit of it as well?
I would say so, but Ajax always have, haven't they? Ajax players,
Yeah.
they've always been an academy kind of proving to players go on. I'm thinking like De Jong, and even going back to like people like Van der Vaart, Wesley Sneijder, players they used to have. They had Zlatan there years ago. They always have players that go on, and then they just build the next phase through, and they can find a manager. So I don't know.
We've not got any good players anymore. It's just gone.
It's just everyone out. Everyone out. We'll see what happens in Ajax watch as that goes on this season. The rest of the league, not a lot else to just say. PSV are top. They've been on fantastic form. Feyenoord are third, Alkmaar with their third win. They're all on fantastic form, the top three, and are starting to pull away. What FC Twente, Steve McLaren's FC Twente are sat in fourth, still sneaking up behind, just ahead of Go Ahead Eagles, the fantastic Go Ahead Eagles. And over to La Francais. We've got a new team that are top since we last looked at this table. Monaco have gone years since Monaco have been top. Remember that team they had where it was the Champions League. They beat Man City, didn't they? And that's when they had Mbappe, Bernardo Silva, Fabinho. Literally, the Premier League decimated that team the next year, and Mbappe went to PSG. But Monaco are back up there at the minute. They are top. It's so tight between the top three, but the juggernaut is coming, unfortunately. The juggernaut of Paris Saint-Germain is up into third place behind Nice, with Lille and Brest just underneath them. And bottom of the table. But look at bottom of the table. Lyon, a big side. Olympique Lyon are bottom of the table. They lost to Clermont in a relegation battle. They're not only bottom, they are 5 points adrift. That's unbelievable. What's going on at Lyon? I don't have to have a look into that because I don't know what the situation is at Lyon, but it isn't very good when you have a look at that. So I think that is all, if I recall, because we're now going to go to fantasy football. We haven't done fantasy football for a while. So I thought, let's have a little look at fantasy football. I know that there's been a game tonight, so there will be some additions possibly to this best team, depending on who's got some points today. But just to have a little look at the team of the week from FPL. So you've got two Brentford players in there, Pinnacle and Buemo. Diego Dallo's made an appearance in there with 11. Alisson Becker, of course, and 8 with his performance with Liverpool. There, Trippier with 10. But highest goal scorer point of all the players, Jacob Murphy of Newcastle with a fantastic 17-point haul. So, yeah, if you've got any of them in your team, you'll be very,
I don't even know what my team is. I'm trying to log in on my laptop now to check what my team is because I've not done it for months.
Just not going to have anybody.
Honestly, I've not done it.
You'll have someone in there from 3 seasons ago or something. It'd be like Teddy Sheringham still up front.
I've still got Van Persie in it. Nemanja Vidic.
It'd still get you more points than Neil Mopai.
Exactly.
So, of course, we have been running our Absolute Football Podcast League, and here is the league. And so it's not just on me because it's my name, because it's my account. I can't get that off, so I don't want to show that I'm showing any bias. It has to be me where my position is. But yes, if we can sort of show there, let me just get rid of the logo, and then we can see in terms of top spot what points we're looking at. There we go. So the top point scorer at the minute leading the league is Edward with 568 points, currently on 82. Obviously the Tottenham game to factor into this, and there is, if you're there in the top 15 as we've got there out of our 50 odd, well done, excellent start to you. But it's very tight. It's all still to play for in the Absolute Football Podcast FPL League. And then we come to, how is the team getting
on? I'm not bottom.
And Shaw is sat in mid-table. That's a good top half, Shaw.
You can always count on Josh to be bottom. You can always count on Josh to make you feel better because I've not done my team for ages. He's below me, so you can always count on him to make me feel better.
Josh and his lovely bottom at the bottom. The crouched potatoes are crouching down, unfortunately. Sat near the bottom. It is. And say
points.
It's a good point. Yeah, doing well there with 23. Lucas is the man to beat in terms of it. He's just 9 points in. I've closed him down a little bit, so I'm fairly happy with the top 10 position at the minute. And Ant is up there as well with 16 too. So, but at the minute it's Billy and Josh are having a battle for the wooden spoon at the moment at the bottom of the FPL League.
I've got Ollie Watkins to come in. Yes.
Oh, you got Watkins points too. Oh, so you might be.
Is it Estepinian, who's from
Yeah.
obviously Brighton, and he didn't play, did he? Is he injured?
But how many have you got at the back? Because if you've only got 3, they won't bring him in for
Oh,
that.
sugar! I think not.
Oh no, you had
Ollie Watkins.
Ollie Watkins on the bench. Oh no.
Who forgot to come in then? I've got Matty Cash, who got me 2 points.
Oh dear, that's no good.
Never mind.
That's no good. I captained Salah this week and it did help. And so Heather got Ollie Watkins as captain, got 22. There we go. And Anthony Hayes is like an ants team. Bradley Dapp, the Greenwich Maradona. There we go. And that, I think, brings us to the end of this week's podcast. Ta-da!
It's been eventful.
The Premier League has come back. We've made it through. Shah's survived. We've had laptops. We've had phones. We've got earplugs. We've got AirPods. We've got everything just to continue to bring the show. But thank you, Charlotte, for being with us and joining us today again for a wonderful podcast. Thanks to everybody in the chat. You make this so fun to do on a Monday. We love having a chat with you guys. It makes it so good. And of course, do join us for Lower League on Thursday. It's a double game week. Shah's got some work to do over the next couple of days on graphics.
Be a long one.
It's going to be a long one to cover both of those. Looking like we're going to have the team ready to go on Thursday, which will be exciting. So, Shah, where can everybody find you? Where can everybody keep in touch with everything that you are up to?
Well, I'm most active on, I want to say Twitter, because it's always like Twitter to me, but X now. So you can catch me on X. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I am ShahXRAFC. My Rochdale Her Game 2 stuff is Rochdale HGT. And please, please, please watch Absolutely Lower League on Thursday, because even if you're not a Lower League fan, please come in, because you'll have such a laugh. And honestly, like, that team they're just absolutely brilliant, aren't they, Sam? And Where's Claire is just the funniest segment I've ever seen from a podcast. And even I don't know where Claire has been until obviously I'm going through it with the team. So everything is 100% natural reaction. So yeah, please, 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 if you can, support Absolutely Lower League as well, because you might not like lower league football, but I can be sure we will make you laugh.
This is it. It's funny. We do enjoy the lower leagues. Fantastic team. As we said, where's Claire? And I want to bring this up. I found this from earlier in the show. Claire said has got a new coat, but it's like a bin bag, so she thinks she has to return it. I want a picture, Claire. I need another picture for, we know there's a Leslie and a Sharon. There might be another family member coming out. We need a picture. There we go. So you can find me. I am up the FM Ducks on stuff, where loads of stuff. On what stuff? Twitter, X, I'm on there. I think TikTok, a few bits and pieces. I might be doing some FIFA videos soon if I can get some time to finish editing them. Maybe that might be a laugh to get up. But most of the time, you'll find me on here on the podcast or doing bits and pieces in the background for the podcast. So follow me, but also most importantly, do follow the podcast itself on all our socials. We will get an updated one, because we have, if you noticed tonight, we've moved Mondays to 8:30 p.m. It just makes our lives that little bit easier. We're getting kids to bed with stuff that's coming on a Monday for the team. So it is back half an hour, but we are still maintaining the Monday slot. On X/Twitter, we are at Absolute Ball Pod. On YouTube, it's at Absolute Football Podcast. On Twitch, we are Absolute Football Podcast. On TikTok, at Absolute Football Pod. On Instagram and Threads, Absolute Football Podcast _. And on Facebook, the Absolute Football Podcast. There we go. Thank you, everybody, again. Love the chat, love the team, love the football. Hope you all have a fantastic week. Good luck if your teams are playing in the next couple of days. And we will catch you on the next one. See you later.